In this video, we'll be discussing factoring the difference of two perfect squares. An abbreviation for it is DOTS. It just stands for difference of two squares. Okay, so let's take a look at this first example. Whenever you're given a binomial, bi means two, so two terms, with a subtraction sign in between them, you want to say to yourself, is this a difference of two perfect squares? So difference, and it has a subtraction sign, and you just want to take a look, are both of these perfect squares? Which, yes, they are. So when that happens, what you're going to do is you're going to open up two sets of parentheses, and you put the square root of the first term in the first spot in each parenthesis, so that'll be x, because x times x gives you x squared. And then you put the square root of the second term in the second spot in each parenthesis, so that'll be 5, because 5 times 5 gives you 25. And all you have to do is just make one of them positive and one of them negative. So one of them is an addition sign and one of them is a subtraction sign. And that's it. That is factored for you. Now, if you wanted to check, I'm only going to do it for this one. If you have a binomial times a binomial, you just double distribute. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Positive 5 times x is positive 5x. And positive 5 times negative 5 would be negative 25. Now, if you tried to combine your like terms, what you would notice is the two middle terms cancel off, leaving you with x squared minus 25. So this does check because this is what we originally started with. All right, let's try a couple more. So if you take a look at this next example, again, first thing you say to yourself is it a difference? Yes, it is. Okay, we have a subtraction sign there. If it's an addition, you can't factor it like this. And both of these are perfect squares. All right, so great. Let's set up our two sets of parentheses. And in the first spot in each parenthesis, okay, we're going to put what the square root of this first term is. So the square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of x squared is x. So there we go. All right, and then in the second spot in each parenthesis, we're going to put what the square root of the second term is. So the square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of y to the 6, all you really have to do is just take the exponent and divide it by 2, so it would be y to the third. And the reason that works is because when you're multiplying two terms with the same base, y to the third times y to the third, you add the exponent, so 3 times 3 gives you 6. So as long as this is an even exponent, it's divisible by 2, so it's a perfect square. And what we do is we just make one of these addition and the other subtraction. And it doesn't matter what order you write them in. You could have written this a minus sign and this a plus sign, okay? Either way. So as long as you have one addition sign, one subtraction sign, you're good to go with that. Okay, let's take a look at one more example. Now with this one, you can look at it right away and say, yeah, there you go. Difference of two perfect squares. But the difference with this one is you can factor out a greatest common factor. And if you can do so, you're going to want to do that first. I mean, technically you could do it later, but a lot of times you just don't want to forget about it. So do it first and get it out of the way. So the number that divides evenly into both of these two terms is a 4. So let's pull out a 4, and that would leave us with 25 minus x squared. Okay, so now if we look in the parentheses, you'll see this is another difference of perfect squares. So we can factor this further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 4 and bring it down, and I'm going to open up two sets of parentheses. And in these parentheses, we're just going to factor 25 minus x squared. Now, in this time, your number comes first. So we're going to need to put the square root of that number in the first spot in each parenthesis. And then the variable comes second. So we have x squared. So the square root of x squared is x. So we'll have to put that in the second spot in each parenthesis. And you could make one of these an addition sign and one of them a subtraction sign. Just to make it different this time, I'll put the first one subtraction and the second one addition, just so you could see it would be in either order. And this would be your final answer.